even when I'm about to make a score, just harboring a little bit of resentment towards the busting up of the PGA Tour, where they're scrambling trying to find some identifiable commodity, one of whom would be Rory McIlroy. If they could get McIlroy, they get to a kind of, semi-Tiger Woods kind of stature in terms of winning, it would certainly be a pleasant transformation for them than trying to sell Scotty Scheffler, who the only time he got anybody excited is when he got arrested. He was dragging that cop around like he was Randy Moss, which was a bullshit thing. I mean, when you really look at it, how does it? I understand that not everybody would recognize Scotty Scheffler, but you're a cop who's assigned to kind of monitor the traffic at the gate going into the golf course, and you're going to go ahead and give this guy a hard time and take him away in handcuffs? Get the fuck out of here. He's leaving the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 2 feet from the gate. You couldn't just wave him in?
The whole thing was
He's hanging onto the car door like he's surfing. That was ridiculous.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, got Michael Lubie Lubitz. We thought it would be a day of celebration, and said we're sort of in the obituary column, and at the same time, as we like to allude to, often we do love the smell of panic in the morning. I'm not sure at what level that panic is at. You still have 2 swings at winning the Stanley Cup. But beginning, you know what's good about you, Lubie? I think you have lived before and were an old soul and might have even been a baseball fan. Because, you couldn't have seen, let's see, Willie Mays played into the early 70s when he had that sad ending there. It was almost like, it was right up there with Joe Willie sitting on the Rams helmet for me, because I became a big Willie Mays fan over the years. We had nothing but respect for Willie Mays, but we sort of despised him a little bit.
It was great.
Yeah, because, there was always the debate, and I was a huge Yankee fan growing up as a little kid, living in Brooklyn there. Mays came into the bigs in 1951, really established himself in 54 after a little stint in the armed forces, I believe. I think was he drafted in the Army in 52 and 53? Anyway, 54, he comes back after breaking in his rookie season in 51. And, of course, Mickey Mantle broke in 1951. At that time, DeForest broke in 1951. July 5th, it's right around the corner, celebrating 73 years. Hard to believe these guys broke in 73 years ago to Major League Baseball. Now, the Mick is long gone. We know that. And Willie Mays lived to be 93, but he passed away yesterday. And, of course, that ignited many people with testimonials and tributes, and properly so, because is this not the ultimate sign of respect? We had Jerry West pass away earlier or late last week, Jerry West. And Jerry West was one of those guys, even if you were a diehard Knick fan or a Celtic fan, you couldn't help but acknowledge that this guy was a great ball player. To the extent that even though you might have despised the Lakers, you had to have at least somewhat of a soft spot in your sporting brain for the fact that this guy was great and as good as any ball player that you could put up against him. There was always a debate, and this was huge in the early to mid 50s before both the Giants and Dodgers left New York. But at what time in New York City, you had Duke Snider in center field for the Dodgers, Mickey Mantle in center field for the Yankees, Willie Mays in center field for the Giants, and the conversation was, hey, who's got the best center fielder in Major League Baseball? Most people, naturally New Yorkers, were inclined to go with the Mick. I don't know, the Duke, he got his share of sentiment, but he wasn't quite the power hitter that these other guys were. I didn't have the all-around game that Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays had. Mickey pre-injury, of course. And then you had to concede after a period of time that Willie Mays, and I came to this conclusion even while they were still playing, that Willie Mays might have actually been the best all-around ball player that I've ever seen. I don't know about you, Lubie. You've probably seen a lot of highlights of Willie Mays. I mean, between the defense, the flair that he had, the fact that he stole over 300 bases. He's one of 3 guys to hit 600 home runs and steal 300 bases. The others would be, Barry Bonds?
Barry.
And believe it or not, A-Rod.
Oh, A.R. Rodriguez, yeah. That's about right.
I don't remember A-Rod being this speedster stealing bases. Do you? That had to be very early in his career.
I mean, he stole enough. Like, I was going to say Griffey, but Griffey never really was a base stealer. Like, I remember he was a shortstop.
What was it? Bonds? Was Bonds the other one?
Well, Bonds was the first, I think, 40-40 guy.
Yeah.
Or 50, something like that. You remember, Bonds is something that Mays hadn't done. Mays just was great at everything for a long time. And I think it was A-Rod. I mean, A-Rod, at least early in his career, he was a shortstop. So I mean,
Yes.
you're asked to move on the base paths, especially in that era of baseball. So it actually makes sense that he had as much power as anyone. I never got to see Willie Mays, but from everything I've researched, watched, seen, he was the best all-around player ever to play. Babe Ruth, if you want to take into account his pitching with the Red Sox, his pitching with the Red Sox and then hitting with the Yankees, sure, but he didn't do it together. Like when he was the kind of hitter that was like 4 generations ahead of his time, hitting 50-something home runs when people were getting 20, he wasn't pitching. So
all-around player, I probably would take Willie. I mean, like you said, he didn't pitch long enough. If he was the early forerunner to Ohtani, but who knows what would have happened if he had also pitched while he was establishing just about every power record that was in Major League Baseball for the longest period of time before the juice kicked in. The Jew series. No, the guy was great. He was very gracious. It was a shame they banned him from baseball. I mean, how comical is this in light of today's developments, Louis, that he was representing a casino, and so they banned him from baseball for a while. I mean, the guy's shaking hands out in front of Caesar's Palace. What the fuck?
Who cares?
And it was like, oh, my God, we can't have the connotation of impropriety here that this guy is fixing games from his position there in the front of the fucking palace out there by the fountains. My God.
Yeah.
What the hell was it? I mean, that was an overreaction, was it not? Especially in light of the fact that now, I mean, you got guys with FanDuel patches on their uniforms. Incredible. And they're telling you at every pitch to start taking advantage of some kind of odds proposition that you could. It's going to be a curveball. It's insane that this guy was banned for that. But, wow, I mean, the excitement factor, almost everybody that grew up watching Willie Mays play, at some point in time, you either took one off the chest or, God forbid, you were trying to make the basket catch and it slipped through there. I think I got hit in the balls a couple of times trying to make the basket catch, which should have been really easy, should it not? I mean, you're making the basket catch on a pop fly more so than, some kind of running catch. And no one will ever forget the Vic Wirtz play. That was absolutely fantastic, where Willie runs about 100 yards with his back to the plate in center field, makes the catch, and then flips the ball into second base and gets a runner. And did he turn that into a double play? I think he did on that particular play. Home run derby. You remember a very humble Willie Mays coming on there and talking to, what was the guy's name? Something Scott, the host of Home Run Derby. And, it was just so quiet and dignified. You're thinking, wow, this is a great guy. And he seemed to be just a tremendous ambassador for virtually everything that was good about life. Willie Mays, passing away at 93. I had a Willie Mays glove. That was my first glove. I'm kind of questioning whether it was actually a reasonable facsimile of anything that Mays would have used, because it wasn't the greatest baseball glove I ever had, although I held on to it forever because I'm one of those guys that I would never be a good horse trainer because I don't like equipment changes. I kept my antiquated racket. It was almost like I was playing a T2000 in tennis for the longest time. And every time I came out there, somebody, the pro would look at that and go, well, what the fuck? Why don't you just bring an oar out here? Try to hit ball. I don't like equipment changes. So I had that Willie Mays glove for a long time, and I even had the fingers wrapped. You know how, first you'd sew it together, the two fingers that had separated with the actual leather that came with the glove, and then that would wear out, and then eventually you were using like shoelaces and stuff like that to keep the glove together. So I had that thing for a long, long time. But even being the biggest, most diehard Mickey Mantle fan at the time, growing up as a kid, you couldn't help but admire what Willie Mays did. 62 World Series, and think about this, big three in a lineup. You had, for the Yankees, you had Maris, Mantle, and Barrett. That's 3, 4, and 5, right? For the Giants, and they were pretty good rivals in the early 60s and late 50s, for the Giants, you had Mays, McCovey, and Orlando Cepeda hitting 3, 4, and 5.
Jesus.
Not too bad. That was the lineup in the 1962 World Series, where every guy that grew up as a baseball fan in New York remembers this scalding, sizzling line drive that barely was a foot off the ground that ended the World Series. I think Mays might have been on third base when McCovey smashed one. The camera wasn't quick enough to keep up with it, but you heard this ball get crushed off the bat. You saw it, looking like it was going to go all the way to the wall. It was looking like a Little League home run. And then Bobby Richardson makes the catch for the final out of the World Series. The Yankees win 4-3. But you were always afraid of Willie Mays, what he was going to do against you. And you had to have great admiration for him. 93 is a number that anybody out there, would you take it right now? Unless you were 93 years old. Tell me you're not willing to accept 93 as a number.
93 is a nice number. I mean, obviously, I like to go a little bit longer, but 93, at least, you've lived a full life, and it seemed like he did. So God rest his soul. And yeah, by me, to my estimation, he's the best all-around player. I mean, Barry Bonds is in that conversation. I don't know what you do with the roids, so it's hard for me to put him there with the roids. But Willie Mays, the way that he hit for power, hit for average, was able to steal bases with the best of them.
Defense,
an elite defender, and had a cannon.
Yes,
he was probably the original definition of a 5-tool player. Mickey Mantle was close. Look, Mickey Mantle was a really good defender and a really good hitter, but the knee thing set him back. He
was extremely fast at one point.
Majority of his career, he had those issues with his knees where you couldn't compare him to Willie Mays. I mean,
no,
he was the best all-around player probably ever that lived, that we got to see, and not
660 homers, all legit. 1,900 RBIs, 338 stolen bases, 3,283 hits. Pretty incredible. So yeah, he's going to. We're losing legends right and left.
Yeah, it's sad.
I mean, Jerry West made 86. That's not bad. Willie Mays makes 93. But wow, all of our memories of just a great sporting activity when we were absolutely in love with all of these games, sort of fading a little bit into that gray area where you're thinking, well, maybe there really is an afterlife. I don't buy that for a second, but what the hell? Do you think at any time, Lubie, I don't want to get too out there, but do you think at any time that you may have lived before?
No, the past life thing doesn't make any sense to me.
Doesn't make any sense to you.
Yeah, I don't agree with that on any level. The post life,
only because the only reason I even pay even the slightest bit of homage to that notion is that what made you be interested in the things that you got interested in right away. In other words, I always had a natural gravitation towards certain things, and even at a young age. But I can't imagine. What am I talking about here? Once you're dead, that's it, man. Flowers are in the punch. Now, the big topic, of course, and we're going to have Tony Segreto coming on doing a little old school here in a few minutes. But last night, and I was confident. I thought the Panthers were going to come out and hit them hard and just dominate this game from start to finish with the Edmonton schlepping across the country. I know the Panthers did too, but they come home to the comfort of their home ice, and they have the 3-1 lead. The 8-1 thing, I didn't take it as hard as you did, Lubie, because I thought, well, once the game got out of control, it really didn't matter. We had seen the Celtics bounce back from that very same scenario and put a thorough beating on the Dallas Mavericks in that Game 5 clincher. And I thought, wow, I mean, the Panthers are going to come out. They're going to get on the board early and put this thing away. But turned out to be the direct opposite. Even though they dominated the second half of the game, and it looked like for all rights they were going to get back into it and at least take this thing to overtime. And how spectacular would that have been to get an overtime sudden death goal in your home arena to win your first ever historical Stanley Cup franchise history? And that would have been brilliant. So, you're riveted to the TV or wherever you happen to be catching the game.
It wasn't the second period.
Well, you have a tendency to, tune out and throw the flowers in the punch early. But even after the 4-1, you're still thinking, all right. And they came right back 14 seconds later, made it 4-2. A 2-goal differential going to the third period on your home ice after you'd been outplayed for a good portion of the game, but are starting to show signs of life. I felt like it wasn't over, but I thought Edmonton might need another goal if they were going to clinch this thing. It turned out they were holding on against immense pressure in the third period, especially the late stages of the third period. And you, Lubie, and this was interesting because this came from Jim Sarney, who we now have immense respect for. And we were starting to believe that he was not even just on the lunatic fringe, but that he was a full-blown lunatic. Sarney, with some of the stuff that he was sending us, and then he put together that thing with Mayo yesterday at the Panthers practice facility, a restaurant called the Federal. Yes. Which, if it wasn't at the Panthers practice facility, still looks like it would be a pretty good restaurant choice. No,
great. Yeah, the combination of creativity, food quality, and then price. There's not a look. It's like Texas Roadhouse in that sense that you got really good food, and the prices were weirdly
reasonable. Yes, very.
like the sandwich that Cerny had is the kind of sandwich that would be normally 15, and you wouldn't even be mad if it was like 16, 17 bucks.
Oh, if that was a 20 bucker, if it was 18.95 somewhere, you'd say, okay, I paid a good price for this.
The fact that it's at an event place, and I guess look, they treat themselves like a regular restaurant, so I give them credit for that, because the concession stand that's right outside the door is similar pricing. It's like nachos and fries, and they're giving you half-pound cheeseburgers and turkey clubs that are bigger than your head, and they're giving you salmon with glaze and mashed potatoes for
pretty fancy stuff. Yes,
it was like, okay, where did this place come from? Because it was, and the cocktails were really good, and they were competitively priced. And that place was really good, and it set up what a lot of you were a title claiming for the Panthers. I did not. I mean, I was really concerned. The fact that there's blowouts and blowouts.
You were the lone dissenting voice yesterday. I think.
Well, it's just there's blowouts happen, but even within a blowout, there's little things you can do that sort of can give you something for the next game. And the fact that it didn't end at 5-1 or 6-2, the fact they let them get those 2 other goals, the fact that it got to 8 goals was embarrassing. And you should never be embarrassed, especially when you're the one controlling a series. And that, to me, gave Edmonton a little bit more oomph, and it wasn't that it hurt the Panthers. It was like, it was a sign to me that they sort of checked out. And it was like, dude, you're in the Stanley Cup Finals. I get it. Everyone's lauding you. I get it. You're up 3-0, up 3-1 coming home. But you got to take this shit. It's a fucking Stanley Cup Finals. This isn't the Celtics versus the Mavs where fucking Luka is dead. Kyrie doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Those other 4, like, this is Connor McDavid, who had woken up. You still have Draisaitl, you have Hyman, you have all these guys. Skinner has been decent, where if you aren't putting pressure on him, he's very Bobrovsky-esque in that regard, where, like, if you're peppering him, you're going to give him a fucking goal. But if you are not coming after him, he can make some saves and keep his team in it. It felt like they sort of were resting on their laurels, and that's what scared the shit out of me. And it's funny, that's what it was like for about a period, because they started strong yesterday. Like, they came out the way I wanted them to come out, but then they got the power.
Although that first shot by Edmonton, I mean, you're talking about point blank range.
It was scary, but
just a huge mistake. And then they had a couple of opportunities that Skinner made big saves on in the very beginning of the game, and the shorthanded goal. I keep wanting to say own goal, but the shorthanded goal is usually devastating. Now this came from Sarny with his brilliance yesterday of orchestrating that Mike Mayo lunchbox outside arrangement. But this was very interesting, and it is something worth tracking. The ref records. I guess there's a site, scoutingtherefs.com. So, it might be something that you want to consult in the future if you're thinking about making a wager, although you would have gone in the wrong direction on this one if you followed the trend. The Florida Panthers had gone 14-0-1 in their last 15 games that were being officiated by ref Dan O'Rourke. 14-0-1 in 15 games. Think about that, Lubie, because you were screaming that the refs were a bit unfair and maybe slightly biased towards the Oilers in this game. The Oilers, on the other hand, were 0-5 in the postseason when O'Rourke was working. And he was part of the crew last night. Now, what was he, just making amends for screwing the Oilers in the past, you think?
I don't know. It was weird. Look, the Panthers were the home team, and they were out penalized. And it's not like the Oilers weren't playing aggressive. They called that game weirdly tight for Stanley Cup Finals. They usually
there's some stuff that, I mean, you see guys get annihilated and nothing's called. Yeah,
they called it very tight, and it always happened. A penalty would pop up right in the middle of a Panther barrage, and it really cut into the momentum. I feel like they would have won that game in regulation the way that things were going if the refs had just kept the fucking whistle in their pocket. They called 2 or 3 penalties right in the middle of the Panthers really dominating that game that gave the Oilers some respite.
And the one with 7 minutes, you mentioned this on another show earlier this morning, our morning.
It was a joke. It was 7.5 minutes left. They scored literally.
And the momentum was there. I mean, and that is going to take you kind of out of your game for the next 2 minutes, and then it's going to take a little time to kind of reestablish that level of momentum that they had going, where they were really just peppering the Edmonton Oilers and keeping the puck largely in their own offensive end. And I'm with you, Skinner. He seems to be able to make initial stops. He comes up with some really clever saves, especially in one-on-one situations where a guy has a point-blank shot. But if you continue to pump the puck towards the net and get a little traffic in there. Like many goalies, he's eventually going to be vulnerable to it, and the Panthers are very good at that. And I thought that they had a legitimate chance to get back in it, but once 7 minutes prohibitive that you're going to get 2 goals, but that was ringing death. I guess they were down 1 at that point.
It was 4-3
Yeah.
with 7.5 minutes left, and they literally, the Oilers didn't really touch the puck for like 5 minutes. They were.
They hardly took any. I think they only took like 4 shots not even on goal. I think they only took 4 shots in the third period. Is that possible?
They were playing Panthers hockey, and it was like, okay, what's funny is up 3-1 heading home, I felt worse than right now up 3-2 heading to Edmonton, just on their way of play. Look, what Mayo and Ken said, they're not wrong. I didn't like, and Hyde wrote this fucking article, and I was like, dude, I know you're a writer, so you don't have to be superstitious, but it was like my parents and myself from 20 years ago would have ripped it up the minute that like literally this fucking article, no matter when it is, it's done. And I was like, what? What do you mean it's done?
It's never over, my friend.
Whether game 4,
nothing's over till we say it.
You guys can relax.
Yeah.
They're winning this cup. And I was like, dude, like, you don't know. It's fucking hockey. It's not even that it's sports, because whatever. In basketball, you're up 3-0, you're going to win. It's hockey. Like, literally, they had just dominated a game 3, up 4-1, and had a puck go off of a defender's fucking back away from the goal, hit their goalie and go in. Had another puck shot in from the blue line, not even near the net, go off a stick by accident and go into the corner of the net, making a dominating game performance 4-3 with 5 minutes. Like, it's a stupid ass sport where all you have to do is have 3 minutes of really good play and you can go up 2-1. Like, I never write any team off, but what I will say is, when the Panthers are playing like that with fucking urgency, not like they're going to be given a cup, they are the better team. And they're the clearly better team. Like, when they play like that, the Oilers have no idea what Connor McDavid, I don't give a shit who they have. They look lost when the Panthers play like that. But they have to play like that. They can't let off the pedal. And game 4 and the first half of game 5, they were like coasting. It was like they haven't played like that the whole season, the whole playoffs, and it was freaking weird. And it was like, it felt like for 5 seconds or an hour and a half of hockey play, whatever you want to say, they believed the Kool-Aid. Like, it felt like for 90 minutes, they believed the Kool-Aid. And, okay, we have this in the bag. No, you don't have it in the bag. You have it in the bag if you play your game. And for 30 minutes last night, they did. And that's what gives me some semblance of confidence. Like, okay, they woke up, they are playing their game, and the Oilers look lost. Let's see if they can keep that going into game 6.
All right, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the schlep across the country and into another country is, I think, more formidable than
not the dream
at this point, because now you're going to go back to Edmonton and play one game. They're going to have all of their momentum going, and they certainly have to have their confidence bolstered by the fact that not only have they won 2 games in a row now, but their stars have kind of woken up.
Yes, McDavid especially has back-to-back 4-point games.
He's been, I mean, just amazing to watch. He really has. We've seen this before, where there were guys. I guess we used to think this about Eric Lindros, right? Remember whenever he would get the puck, and he was this big guy that had speed and all kinds of moves and big flashy shots, but was not nearly as good as Connor McDavid is. And wow, I'm just enjoying watching that guy play. You don't get a chance to see one of the great players in any sport as often as we should, since he's out there just in the bastions of nowhere with the Edmonton Oilers. But wow, it's been a lot of fun. All right, Tony Segreto standing by. He's going to join us here with a little old school. That's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Where how about this? Andy was at, is it in Delray?
He said Deerfield.
Deerfield, the Texas Roadhouse in Deerfield. Is there a Texas Roadhouse in Deerfield, or was he?
Sure. I mean, they have them all over South Florida, so it would make sense.
Great place to take in all of this action. And when is the next game? Is it Saturday, Friday? When is it?
It's Friday.
Friday.
Remember, Edmonton's a ridiculous trip, so
I don't blame them for taking a day
I don't
off.
mind it. Look, the Panthers actually did well. It wasn't. That's what's funny. It wasn't the travel game and then that first game. It was the next game when they got too high on the hog.
Yes.
And did nothing for an entire game. Like, they played fine in game 3. They actually dominated game 3. It was game 4 that they were like, eh.
All right. Well, the bookies are going to get buried if the Panthers win in 6, because I believe everybody that we talked to had the Panthers in 6 in the series. as what was pointed out several times, they can't win it in 6 if they don't lose a couple of games. I thought they had a shot at the sweep. I really did, and then they got hammered in that game. I have this theory too, and we talk about it a lot in relation to teams that start crying about other teams running up the score. And that is okay. So even if you're down, by 30 points in the fourth quarter of a football game in the NFL or whatever, college, go out and win the last quarter.
Finish.
Yeah.
The way you finish matters. Like, and the Oilers, there's no way they won't tell you that. The fact that they got those 2 stupid ass goals in game 3, you can't tell me that didn't give them something. Like,
sure, they lose that one 6-1 instead. Who knows? But go out and quit crying. Don't be Luka Doncic. Quit crying, and go out and just win some portion of the game.
Finish.
So and the Panthers really did that in last night's game. They easily could have been thinking, "Oh my God, we're going to have 2 more swings at this thing," and worst case scenario, a game 7 at home. So I don't know. We'll see if it comes to that. We got to get to Tony Segreto. He's coming up in just a moment here on the Defo Show. Old school with Tony Segreto in a moment. Now that. The time. It's 8:36.
Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Texas Roadhouse.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForce, we got Michael Lubitz, and we welcome in the handsome gentleman there at the bottom of the screen, of course, is the legendary. You talk about legends. We're losing a lot of legends, Tony. Thank God we have you.
Yeah.
I mean, in a short span. Bill
William
Walton,
Mays,
Jerry West, and then Willie Mays yesterday.
Hey, first of all, Lubie, are you passionate about the Panthers?
He is now, yeah.
I was in game 4 and in the first period of game 5, but
I love when Lubie gets like this. I just do. I could let him go all day.
I could let him go. Yeah. You let him go all day. Just sit back and go ahead.
When he's got the Pesci type diatribes about how the Panthers suck.
Yeah.
It was interesting, though. I honestly, Tony, I'm usually one to think, and especially in hockey, anything can happen. But I felt fairly confident that the Panthers were going to close it out last night. It was going to be just another terrific exclamation point on a story that's taken 30 some odd years to come to fruition.
Yeah, I thought so too. I really thought so, and even when they were down, I thought they'd come back, but not to be. They could. What do they say? They could win it in Edmonton, or they can win this game 7 back here. So take your poison.
Let's finish this.
Yeah, but we poison. I mean, we always say this. So we love the smell of panic, especially with the local teams in the morning. And I'm not as confident as Lubie. We all have the universe has Panthers in 6, and they played great in the second half of this game, but that has to be going back home and actually having a game 6 has to be a huge, just absolutely inspiring element for a team that literally had kind of arisen from the dead, including
Yeah.
their big stars. So
If Edmonton wins this thing, it'll be probably one of the greatest collapses
Yeah, no, that's rough.
in Miami sports history.
oh, Miami sports
So,
history,
3-0.
total sports history. I think it happened in like 1940 something that a team came back in the Stanley Cup Finals
Wow.
We have
from
to
3-0 down.
3-0. I mean,
And it's so rare. I mean, in the NBA, it's 157-0 now. That the teams that were up 3-0 ended up winning the championship or winning the series. And it has happened a couple of times in hockey, I think. But I believe the last time in the Stanley Cup Finals, team up 3-0 loss was somewhere in the 40s. Toe Blake, I think, was coaching at the time. All right, hey, let's get into a little Willie Mays because you are old school like me. I was saying earlier in the show that 1951, a great year because not only did Willie Mays make his rookie appearance with the then New York Giants, but Mickey Mantle made his rookie appearance with the New York Yankees. I would imagine in your youth, Tony, like you were involved in many arguments about who the better player was. And we were diehard Mickey Mantle fans, naturally. And it was almost insulting. It was like arguing with a MAGA Republican about who's got the better quality as a human being, Trump or Biden. You were adamantly, I mean, just shoving almost. It would come to blows, arguing about Mantle versus Mays. But all that being said, and with my love for Mickey Mantle and the Yankees at the time, and then later on the Mets, and having Mays be a nemesis to the New York Mets until he joined them later on, but he was finished at that point. But I always thought, I was on the side of arguing for Mickey Mantle being a better player. I think by the time their careers concluded, and maybe some of that New York bias had gone, how could you not make the case that Willie Mays may have been the best all-around player of all time?
He was the greatest player of all time. I like you argued my pants off,
Yeah, it's like, what do you mean, Mantle's better? What are you talking about? Yeah.
But Jesus, when you think back at his Mays' career, and you think of the things he did, and how he was powerful, speed, how he played center field,
great arm,
great arm, just superlatives all around. So you have to give it to Mays.
How many times did you knock your hand off trying to catch a fly ball? Did you do that? I mean, it was always like on an easy looping fly ball. You would come running in and knock your hat off and go Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Or the basket catch. I got hit in the balls a couple of times trying to make the basket catch. It was not, for some reason, is not as easy as it should have been. It should have been a piece of cake.
It was not easy. It was not easy, but
you were trying to make it on a line drive, and next thing you know,
he could hit, man. He could hit anything, and
he opposite field. I mean, he was great.
He was, for those who never saw him play, he was the quintessential player. He encompassed it all. He had speed, he had power, he had grace, he had integrity. I mean, he just empowered the game. And I mean, if you had to pick a human being, you pick Mays, hands down. But in terms of talent, they were equal. They were really, really equal. And it's a shame he passed.
He made 93, Tone. Come on. We're both looking at this right now and thinking that's a favorable thing. That's 20 more years for me.
It's 19 for
I guess
20.
19 for you. You would probably take it right now, no?
Yeah, I'd take it. I in a heartbeat, I'd take it.
You're going to make 130. What are you talking? Look at you, Tony. Jesus Christ. What are you, just eating yogurt and carrot juice? I mean, what the hell? You look great.
This is on no sleep.
How come? Well, what happened?
I got in last night.
Oh, yeah. This is your first day in Vermont? Get out of here. All right.
I got in last night, and I couldn't sleep. I got to bed. I was still moving. My car was still moving, and I.
Now, did you drive up there with the wife or by yourself?
By myself.
Wow, you are an adventurer, Tony.
Yeah, he pushes.
You used to at least have the dog to accompany you, and then he unfortunately passed, and now you're flying solo. That's interesting.
Yep.
I saw some shots. A guy that used to be the general manager. You probably knew this guy at WIOD. He was the general manager during kind of the heyday of that radio station's lifespan. A guy named Bob Green.
Yeah.
And you must have done some stuff with Bob Green at some point. And he was kind of sort of an inspirational leader of the hijinks that was taking place on the radio at that time. So I really liked the guy until he fired me for no good reason, and
Of course.
he ended up bringing me back like a week later. But it was a very tense week of anxiety for me. But he lives in Vermont for a long period of time now, where he spends a lot of his time there. And he had posted a picture the other day. I mean, you could not have painted, a scene that looked any more beautiful than it did, with the blue skies over this, sort of mountain range of trees and everything. So how's it looking there, Tony?
It's
I mean,
gorgeous.
I had to think, wow, I wouldn't mind going Segreto, even though we used to
Well,
make fun of you for this.
There's a heat wave here.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, that they say it's a heat wave. It's 93 degrees.
Oh wow.
So
Well,
it's-
yeah, but it's it's a different feeling there, because usually you're counting on it being kind of cool in the morning. No,
Yeah, it's from
yeah,
Vermont.
there's no air conditioning and there's none of that. But it's 93. It's a heat wave, but it'll break tomorrow, and it'll be 60, 55, 60 at night. And
oh yeah, okay.
back to normal. But it
Looks
is
beautiful there, though, Tony. I have to say,
is
one of these days, Lubie and I might
Should get out
surprise
there, yep.
you and the
if
lovely
you
Mrs.
find
Segreto.
me, if you find me, but I'll
It'd probably be easier to find Ted Kaczynski's place before the Reds were looking for him. No?
I'll put out crumbs for you.
There you go.
Come on over for a barbecue.
Yeah. Have the kids over so we can eat. That'll be
It
great.
Yeah, it is so nice. It is it's breathtaking. Now the trees are all full of leaves, and it's special. It's a special place.
All right, a lot has transpired in the world of sports. So, were you at any time a Celtic fan?
Yeah.
I actually always admired the Celtics. I know the professor would not be happy about this, but one of my favorite players of all time, and a guy that when you get a
Havlicek.
jumper from the corner, you would yell out, "What, Havlicek?" Okay. Or Hondo, So I like players on the Celtics. Of course, it was easy to embrace them when they were winning like 11 championships in 12 years or whatever that was. But they sustained a level of excellence, and of course had the Larry Bird era later on. And so they've always been a top-notch team and organization to be somewhat respected. How did you feel about them winning the championship? It's weird now that every time you see a guy celebrating, like was the case with Tatum, they have to immediately address the fact that they've silenced their critics, which I'm thinking Michael Jordan didn't win a title till he was in the league for 7 years.
I think they silence their critics in terms of ever since the Bird era, there was a drought, and now that they silenced their critics and they won one, and they got the monkey off their back. They're now the new kids on the block, and I think that's what he meant when he said that.
Yeah, I mean, people, are saying that he and Jaylen Brown couldn't coexist. That was a very common theory that at one time I probably would have bought into.
I was such a Celtics fan.
You were? Okay.
Oh my God. Being New York, and it was the Knicks and the Celtics, but the Celtics to me, the Celtics, when I was growing up, were all we saw down here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you became a Celtics fan, and whether it was Havlicek or Bird, or somebody like that, you dreamed you could be them.
Yeah, you actually wanted to wear those hideous green satin shorts.
Yeah.
And pretend you were Bob Cousy, just like dribble around your sister for half an hour and then make
half
a layup.
an hour.
Yeah.
It was easy. It was easy to do. It
All
brings
right.
back memories, man. It brings back memories.
Yeah, Lubie was not a big Celtic fan this year. He really didn't think much of
Lubie.
the team.
I hate
But they ended up going 80-21 for the
How can
season.
you
they had a
dispute that?
great year, but
I mean, and that's playing everybody. So even though it seemed like they had a path of least resistance
I mean,
to
their
win the
playoff
championship,
finals.
playing teams that were compromised, still, I mean, in the regular season, they were 64-18. That includes everybody in the league.
How can you dispute that? How can you dispute it?
He's Lubie, of course.
And
He
that
can dispute
playoff
it.
run was the stupidest run ever. I mean, the fact that literally every team they faced, their best player was either out or hurt. It's something I've never seen in my entire life. It's a ring, it's a title, they won, yay! But Tatum and Brown, there's a reason they got their fucking first title. We would have lost like 6 teams this fucking year. but whatever. It's fine. They got their title. Good for them. I don't really give a shit. I'm hoping the Panthers get their title. I've fully moved on, and I presume next year the Celtics will be like the 6th or 7th best team in the league. So they got their title. It's very Bucks title to me, where they got a title, they got a ring, and they needed literally everything to go in their favor to get that title and ring. So, and that's fine. Look, as a Heat fan, I would have taken it. I would have taken everyone getting hurt and Jimmy Butler getting his first ring, and I wouldn't think twice about it. I don't care what haters said. So yeah, Celtics fans shouldn't care what people like me say, because it's true. They got a title. They'll have a ring. It's number 18, a ludicrous number.
All-time eclipsing the Lakers. They broke the time.
Yeah,
That's
so
17.
I don't think you're passionate enough about anything you talk about when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
You kidding me, man? Did you hear him going off on the officials in this game last night? Which,
God, he was going on and on and on.
oh my God, he was going crazy.
You
No
and
doubt
I,
about it.
you and I could go out to lunch.
Oh no, I
lunch,
could do.
come
Come back, he'd still be talking. Yeah.
Still talking.
Well, it's good too, because I think we saw one of the greatest.
Great.
You know, the highlight play so far, signature play in all of Panther history for me, prior to last night, which this was just the opposite, but was the Bill Lindsay goal in the postseason in the 96-97 playoffs. I mean, that was just an absolute thing of sporting beauty. It was captured extremely well, almost in Walter Yost type fashion by one of the Miami Herald photographers whose name escapes me, but I mean, just they have him perpendicular to the ice, scoring this goal, totally stretched out. I had a picture a long time ago of Dennis Rodman diving into the crowd, and that was captured extremely well by the photographer. As I mean, he literally is just straight out perpendicular. You can see him exerting every ounce of energy. It was like watching Rafael Nadal go through that twitching before he serves. You could see every muscle extended, and you're looking at that picture and going, that is the epitome of all-out effort. And we saw that with Kachuk last night when he deflected away. I mean, it ended up being the clinching goal or the goal that put them out of their misery yesterday. But that dive to save that puck from going into the empty net, what was that classic? I mean, did that epitomize the whole spirit of the Stanley Cup? It's a whole different thing.
It just did. It just that's a
flat out on his face.
No, he went. Look, it was pure desperation and urgency, and it's what I wish they played with the entire game. They would have won 4-1. Like after the shorthanded goal, that should have woke them up, and it actually was the opposite. The shorthanded goal put them into this weird malaise where they went 3-1, or 1-3 until the middle of the second period when they woke up again. It's weird that they needed to go down 4-1 to wake up, and I never understand what goes through athletes' minds. I couldn't understand it. Fans are like, well, they shouldn't need motivation. They should need heart. And no, they're humans. And when you're up 3-0 or up 3-1 at home, as sad and annoying as it is as a fan, sometimes malaise does set in. And it's
not so much that they don't care.
Yeah, it's not that they don't want
it. So much that they want it just as bad as before. But the other,
you have room. Yeah, you have
the other team feels it's back to the wall.
Yes,
and they're going out all out, if only to win one game.
Yep.
And now they've won 2, and now.
Well, no, now they have the momentum, but you at least saw that play was already after a period of the Panthers just totally throwing everything at it. And again, I wish they had been able to do that in Game 4. I wish they had done that from the puck drop in Game 5, but it was nice to see them at least do it for a long period of time last night. And it ended with McDavid making that goal, but the play that you'll remember is Kachuk throwing his whole fucking body on the ice.
That was great.
And literally getting the stick right when it was about to cross the line. It's like, okay, they finally get it. Like, this is what it's going to take to win a Stanley Cup and nothing less. Like, if you don't bring 110%, the Edmonton Oilers will take your cup. And don't get me wrong, it's your cup. You're up 3-0. You're up 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals. That is your cup. They're going to take it from you. You can't let them. And that period and a half is sort of what I got out of it. They're going to go back to Edmonton. They'll be crazy. The Panthers played great on the road. Like, they at times played better on the road than at home. So it's not being in Edmonton with the lunatic Canadians doesn't scare me. It's what Panthers are you going to get for 90% of these playoffs? You got the team you saw in the third period last night and half the second period. For 10% of these playoffs, Game 4 and
they look like clowns. Yeah.
They look like a team that had nothing to play for, and it was really weird.
all kidding
Bookies, Tony, are going to be on a dilaudid drip, though, because the world has the Panthers in
Everyone
six.
Panthers in
6 and
The
6.
world has the Panthers in six. I mean, I can't. This might even impact the Russian economy if they win this thing in Edmonton. So I'm looking forward to that. What more could be satisfying than let's say they do lose that game and
Oh God.
somehow get a dramatic overtime victory for their Stanley Cup, their initial Stanley Cup after 30 years mired in sub mediocrity, and maybe even the consideration that hey, this ain't working here, which popped up at different times late so far in the franchise's 30 what is it 31 32 year
32
existence,
years,
something like
32
that.
I love Lubie's passion, and no, Lubie really it bodes well, especially with us with Defo and I, because Defo and I tend to take a more analytical, cynical look. You just bring a passion to the game. You remind me of me and of Defo at that age.
It's insane, though. His reaction to every single thing that happens is.
I know.
I mean, Bobrovsky sucks. He gives
that
up one
first goal
goal.
was ridiculous. I don't know why
He can't make that play on the
why
backhand.
do you leave the why does he leave the crease?
I watched it though, a replay of it. He was beaten by a great move.
No,
That guy made a great move.
By a
Yes.
great move. Are you kidding me? Oh my God!
He was in a good position because you were saying that he just throws himself on the ice.
He falls down.
He was in a good position, and then when the guy made this gigantic deke at the net while being pressured by another player, he just I think you just have to credit the guy. It was almost magical. He kept the puck on his stick and made that shot.
Yeah.
And even that being said, Bobrovsky gets a skate on it if you watch the replay.
He still does. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, but a tremendous move by this guy. Sometimes you just have to say, "Hey, wait a minute, man! That guy just did something better than you could have ever imagined."
Better than me.
Yeah. All right. So now, Tony, you must also be immersed in this Yankees Orioles. I didn't see who won the game yesterday. I didn't see the result.
I didn't see the results either.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I didn't see. I mean, I watched the Panthers game, and that was it. He's looking.
Well, I'll try and find it here for you. Go ahead. Fill a little time for me. I can't use this computer because we're using it to do the telecast here.
Are you talking about for the score? I mean, I can take it. I can find it in 5 seconds. The
Score.
Yankees yesterday.
Yeah.
The Yankees.
They won 4-2.
4-2.
Yeah.
And Judge got hit in the hand.
Huge game. Wow.
Huge game.
The Orioles, for my money, they sort of came out of nowhere. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. The last year, they end up winning the AL East, so they were no secret this year. But and I think the bigger surprise is how well the Yankees have done.
Yeah.
But a huge series, so that now opens up 2.5 in the AL East.
I watched the Yankee game again. I watched the Yankee game the other night, and you forget they just have a lineup that is unheard of. I mean,
I don't know that I agree with that, Tony. I mean, they have a couple of guys in there with Soto and Judge that are doing great. But you look at the bottom of the lineup, they got a bunch of guys hitting 150, like a lot of teams do. I mean, it's almost embarrassing to see like 7 through 9 in a lot of major league lineups. Especially if you zero in on the Marlins. And there's nobody hitting above the Mendoza line. Mario fucking Mendoza would be batting 4th for a lot of these teams. It's crazy.
Are the Marlins still playing baseball?
They won last night, much to our dismay, because we're hoping to cash this ticket sometime before my birthday, July 5th. But the under, I would imagine, is beyond cemented in certainty, as they have, like 24 wins so far in the season. They're playing at a clip to win 54 games, but they haven't had the big sell-off yet, which they will be getting rid of probably any player that has any talent.
Yeah.
At what point do you assume that the guy that you thought and anointed as the chosen one, in this case, is Peter Bendix guy? At what point do you realize that maybe you've been conned?
Oh, we've been conned.
The fact that he was a bat boy for the Tampa Bay Rays, or are we going to find ourselves 5 years from now saying, "Oh my God, were we wrong about this guy? We were wrong about Paul Maurice."
We've been conned.
You think? I don't know. I mean, I don't understand it. There's no usually a club will at least come out with the vague statements as they're making these bozoic moves and inexplicable trades of like Louis Arise for nothing, and they'll say, "Well, here's where we're going with this," But you don't even hear that from
We've been conned
from these people.
We've been conned.
All right. I mean, how dumb can you be? You let go a woman, Kim Eng, who had actually done something tangible that you could point to and say, my God, there's a couple of moves. There are a couple of moves that were made by somebody in our front office that paid dividends, and we got into the postseason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, of course, your next move is going to be, let's get rid of this woman right now. And everybody would naturally be tempted to take some executive from the Tampa Bay Rays. They've been able to perpetuate this thing. I mean, even this year when they're not doing particularly well, if you look at the AL East, most of the teams there, at least they all have a shot to finish at 500, which is hard to imagine since they're beating each other more often than they're seeing any of the other teams. But I mean, no, this guy might have been the one guy in the system there that finally was going to put an end to the Tampa Bay Rays' miraculous performance every year. I might have been happy to get rid of this guy, no?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Finally, we got a team owner or a team general manager, and no.
No, good. No, this guy so far has been unimpressive. He certainly doesn't look like Bill Zito does with the Panthers, in terms of how he's running the organization.
No, he doesn't.
No, not yet. Anyway, all right, Tony, Texas Roadhouse. We had our good friend Andy was at a Texas Roadhouse last night. I would imagine a tremendous place. Mustang was talking about, hey, where can we go and watch the game? And I ended up watching it laying on my back on the couch. But and I'm fine with that now. I don't environments. I would just like to focus in, zero in on the game a little bit. I don't mind that. I do like the enthusiasm of a crowd, but they would have been largely disappointed last night. So, I spared myself
Texas
that.
Roadhouse is...
But Roadhouse, great place.
Is the best for anything. It's for a date. It's for going by yourself. It's for going with your family. It's for going with the kids. It's a place to watch a game. It's a place to relax. And you get great food no matter what you order. You get the rolls. And you could go there and make a meal of the rolls and the salad. And that's it.
You could do that, Tony. You definitely could. Although, you know what? For a man who is as svelte as you are, I mean, just you look like you could go, and fight Alexis Arguello at 135. I mean, you can eat. I mean, you're not maybe in the Mayo category, but I mean, you can eat.
Yeah, I can eat.
I mean, you down that salmon in a matter of seconds at Texas Roadhouse, and now we're asking Lubie for like half of his steak.
They were out fishing for another one while I was eating that one to make sure that there was one ready.
They do a great job, though. I mean, and this is the kind of thing I believe you need this in American restaurants, and we're very lucky here. We have so many great local restaurants and places that are essentially one shop, and they do a tremendous job. I mean, you can go to almost any area in South Florida and say, my God, there are like 10 restaurants here. I wouldn't mind trying.
Yeah.
But Roadhouse, I mean, stacks up around the country. And then you need this dynamic right now, especially with people strapped for cash. You can take a family out there at a very reasonable price.
I passed the Texas Roadhouse yesterday in New Jersey, I think it was. And it was like 5 o'clock. And it was packed.
Jammed, yes.
It was packed. This is what was it, Tuesday night?
It would have been Tuesday night.
Packed.
I've seen that. Like I mentioned a few times, in Lexington, Kentucky, where there are a zillion restaurants, we blow by the parking lot. I'm seeing it's jammed to the rafters. And, of course, I see the sign then, Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse, packed.
Anywhere else, you get whatever seat you want in the house during that period of time. It's great.
You know what we're saying, folks? If you haven't tried it, just try it. And what's the worst that could happen?
No, you'll enjoy yourself.
To convert Mayo is not easy, Tony.
No.
You know that. He's extremely stubborn. And he loved it after, remember Lubie when we first started talking about it and he made a face?
He made faces and
making fun of Tony for selling the bread as a big commodity. Like, who cares about the freaking bread, and then what? I mean, he loves it now, man. He stops in there by choice.
Oh, yeah.
He and his daughter, where they go to a place in Tallahassee or something, or someplace on the way home. And his daughter and him go all the time now.
Yeah, Roadhouse. They stop in the Port St. Lucie location.
Why not? Yeah.
St. Lucie, yeah.
All right, Tony. So what's going to be on tap for you today in Vermont? I mean, are you going to go take a walk in the woods? How do you approach this? It has to be exhilarating thinking about what you might be able to do today.
Well, the first thing I have to do is unpack.
Okay.
How did Atlanta go?
Huh?
How did that go in Atlanta? Since we're not going to see you on Friday.
Oh, it went great. It went fabulous. I mean, it was
Good.
it was the best.
What'd you do?
They have we went to see my son's girlfriend's parents.
Oh yeah, okay.
Families finally, because they don't live in the same city.
It's kind of like on The Bachelor. You know, when the guy finally meets the parents. That never went well for me.
They have a
It went good for Jesse. It didn't go good for you. It went good for Jesse. Do every holiday together.
They have a lake house that is super. It's beautiful.
Nice.
And so, and we went out in the boat. Went out. It was just great. It was fabulous.
Tony Segreto fishing like Fredo with a little hat on with the various lures stuck in there. I love that. Do you wear a floppy hat when you go? I mean, maybe.
Yeah, floppy hat, the whole thing.
Nice. Well, you look good, kid. I mean, for a guy that didn't sleep, you look great. And it's always a pleasure. Tony Segreto, enjoy the week there. We're a little bit envious. We're getting some decent weather here. I really have no complaints. Getting out there on the path again on a walk of life, it's just been brilliant. Always very happy to be here in South Florida, even in the dead of summer. But this looks like a move worth consideration, Lubie. I don't know about you. We mocked you, and we're sorry about that now, Tony.
I'd like to visit him. Yeah.
Come visit.
Yeah, I'd like to visit him. Surely we'll get a kick out of it.
I would imagine this would be the last thing that you would want, is for us to show up at your door.
I want to
Knowing what schnorrers we are, I mean, we would expect everything for free and make no contribution whatsoever.
I wouldn't do any of that.
Hopefully, we get some. Are there vineyards there in Vermont that you visit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would be cool. I feel like they do have the northeastern wines. Pretty interesting.
Yeah,
they're great. They're catching up to the Piedmont and all of the things out west.
Oh, cool.
I think it's great.
All right. Well, what can we say? Go milk a cow, and we'll talk to you again next week.
I'll milk a cow,
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Segreto. This guy, I mean, he drove all the way up there. That's you start getting into those like mountain ranges and shit. It's a whole different ride, right? Something we're not accustomed to here in South Florida, where the biggest undulation is like a speed bump on Bayview. When did they put in these new radical, almost like minefield speed bumps? The rubber ones.
I hate the new ones.
Oh my God! I mean, you can't help but lose an axle. Even if you're going over them at like half a mile an hour. If you crawled over it, you would need knee surgery. That's how bad it is. But that's it. It's beautiful territory, Lubie. I don't blame Segreto anymore for spending his summers there. Seems like it would be almost an ideal move. Although, can we trust Tony up there by himself?
Yeah, I think his wife will be there soon. He'll be okay.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because we're concerned at this stage. You get up there in years, a lot of weird shit happens. Remember when you used to hear the commercial and you would laugh at it, mock it? I've fallen and I can't get up. And now
everyone would love to mock that commercial, and it's like.
And now you're thinking, yeah, that could easily be me.
That's the thing.
But when I go to doctor's appointments now, especially the primary care person, where they have like sort of a general outlook they're formulating about your health. I can't tell you how many times at this last thing I had to do for like a Medicare survey or whatever, they asked me if I've fallen down recently.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm thinking, not that I remember, but
you never know.
The mere fact that they're suggesting that this is something that might be a common occurrence for me has me like stumbling down the stairs and shit like that. So, yeah, got to be careful. All right, we'll see you later on. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And yeah, we had some great drinks yesterday there at the Federal. And I do we owe apologies to Sarny?
Yeah, no. I gave him tons of credit. I mean, he's on the lunatic fringe when it comes to his sports suggestions.
Stuff that you would never pay attention to.
But that was his idea, and it was a great idea. Everyone over there was Tamara, Ashley, Brian.
Would have been any nicer, the people.
Christian, our server. I mean, everyone was fantastic. The food was really good. The price was really good. It's the kind of place I definitely would like to take Shirley. There was a really cool vibe. The whole compound is really cool.
And exotic drinks. I'm not a big exotic drink guy, but when I do have them, I like it when
you did a great job.
You take a sip and you go, wow, that's pretty good.
They did a great job. The food was really good. We really enjoyed it, and it's all thanks to Sarny. So he thought about it. He helped set it up, which was impressive and got him a lot of points in the middle of all the lunacy.
It's incredible. I mean, what was that? Mark 7 Productions that did Dragnet?
Yes.
he's up there in that category of producing now after that extravaganza yesterday. All right, we'll see you guys 1 o'clock then today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. For Mike Lubie, it's Tony Segreto. I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:10.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.